I'm praying and I'm thinking you're going to get new direction at the OCC, and the remnants of choke point 2.0 gets wiped off the table, and all of a sudden Goldman Sachs and Citibank and Morgan Stanley and Jefferies all start saying, hey, go hire me some of those guys that work at Galaxy. We're going to see now, less than 2 years later, by the time it's all said and done, 2 years post that ETF launch, the US is going to be all in on Bitcoin, all in on crypto. We'll have good regulation, we'll have rules.
Galaxy Digital CEO Mike Novogratz envisions a new dawn for the cryptocurrency industry in the United States in the coming months and years, regardless of the outcome of the November presidential elections. Novogratz believes the approval of several spot Bitcoin exchange-traded funds in January, then spot Ethereum exchange-traded funds last week, is a great indication that the choke point 2.0 era is ending, and the digital asset space is no longer considered a pariah in the US investment scene. During a recent conversation with Bankless, Novogratz discusses the changing atmosphere towards the cryptocurrency industry in the US, not just by politicians like former President Donald Trump, who recently declared his full support for cryptocurrencies, but also by federal agencies like the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Commodities Futures Trading Commission. According to Novogratz, another important domino is currently falling, one that could open the crypto market and the entire digital assets space to tens of trillions of dollars in very little time. This domino is the influx of Wall Street giants like Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and others into the crypto space. Novogratz explains that though it's not public knowledge yet, several Wall Street giants are, as we speak, doing their due diligence on crypto and getting ready to take the industry by storm. Novogratz believes this massive shift in attitude started after BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, applied for spot crypto-based ETFs, got them approved, and immediately started breaking ETF records that have existed for decades. With BlackRock's CEO Larry Fink now essentially a crypto evangelist, others are following the money and shedding their previous ill-advised prejudice against the cryptocurrency space. Novogratz believes the massive influx of these Wall Street giants should become more pronounced in the coming months, and by 2026, the US will be all in on crypto. This will, of course, greatly benefit the cryptocurrency market, causing massive price explosions for cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and others. We will now bring you clips from the interview, but before we do, please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks, and enjoy the video.
I think the next big thing to happen is post this election, no matter who wins, you're going to get some version of an infrastructure, a market structure bill passed, Fit 21, Volume 3. And I'm praying and I'm thinking you're going to get new direction at the OCC, and the remnants of choke point 2.0 gets wiped off the table, and all of a sudden Goldman Sachs and Citibank and Morgan Stanley and Jefferies all start saying, hey, go hire me some of those guys that work at Galaxy. The headhunters calling, and they're building these desks. Then you'll actually see a lot more activity. And so I'm like, I think about it two ways. I'm like, shit, the competition is going to get so much harder. But good, it's going to drive in so many more people, because those organizations, they get more charged up and they're bringing their giant institutions with them. And as much as I think Galaxy is a world-class company, most clients would rather deal with Goldman than Galaxy. They trust it. It's bigger balance sheet. It's just, that's just human nature. And so I want the giants to participate because I realize it just will bring a lot of energy to our space. The space, why is energy important? Like, Bitcoin drives everything because it pushes money into other places. It's the other places that need to get built out so they can fulfill their destiny, right? I want blockchain-based ticketing. My favorite story of all of crypto, it's like 2015, I got a call from Adam Clayton, the bass player of U2. I thought it was a prank call. I thought it was my brother pranking me. And he's like, dude, I listened to your podcast. Come to the concert.
No way.
So I literally go out to frickin' the Meadowlands with a buddy, go backstage. I meet Bono, The Edge, and he's like, oh, we played your frickin' podcast on our jet ride out here. And fascinating. And I was talking about the idea of blockchain-based ticketing and NFTs in 2015. They weren't called NFTs. The real breakthrough of Satoshi was that he was the first person to put private property on the internet. Before Satoshi, there was no private property, right? You could control, copy, paste. And so having uniqueness actually is private property. And so I was like, oh, you're going to have tickets. You'll be able to have these tickets and you'll be able to throw them from the stage to the guy who's sitting in the top row, and he'll catch them on his phone and he'll come down and get the front row seats, because they hated empty front row seats. And I'm giving them all this jazzmatazz and they're all like excited. And it's 8 years later, we don't have blockchain-based ticketing. I'm not going to be happy until we have projects that actually get to scale. Why don't we have it? Because Ticketmaster doesn't want it. We don't have blockchain-based rideshare because Uber doesn't want it. And so how does a community compete against, a giant, right? Why Facebook still dominates and TikTok dominates social. We don't have distributed social. We don't have, right, decentralized social. And so in lots of the verticals, we've gotten smoked. The question is, in 5 years, as this place gets more energy, as Bitcoin price goes up and drives money into the whole space, and Goldman gets involved, and more people bring more and more people in, do these projects finally get enough critical mass and funding to take on the incumbent? In the history of the world, we had never had a global speculative mania, right? We had the NASDAQ bubble. It was a US-based tech bubble. Mr. and Mr. Watanabe in Japan, or Mr. and Mrs. Sikh in, northern India, they weren't participating, right? In the railroad bubble, it was a US-based bubble. In the tulip bubble, it was based in Amsterdam. Crypto was the first global product.
Crypto is indeed the first global bubble. It is digital, fast, and furiously knocking down everything that stands in its path. This year alone, SEC Chairman Gary Gensler has been humbled, and so have relentless gold bugs like Peter Schiff and consistently anti-crypto senators like Elizabeth Warren. If the Democrats continue to stubbornly maintain their anti-crypto stance, there's a huge chance they will be humbled at the polls come November too. The physical world is giving way to the digital, and the only people who will survive the transition are those who get on board now before it gets too late. The floodgates have been opened, and there's no shutting it off. This is why visionaries like Novogratz and Michael Saylor are persistently bullish on cryptocurrencies. Very soon, the CEOs and CIOs of Wall Street giants will be the ones giving talking points about crypto and the future of finance. Let's get back to the interview.
For the US, why Bitcoin ETF is so important as well, it was the first time the government said, you have our blessing. Gary Gensler said it with pepper in his mouth and, a gun in his back. He didn't want to say it, but he was forced to say it. And, a lot of credit goes to the Grayscale guys. They did a lot of things wrong, but in this case, they did something right, where they went on that lawsuit and said, what are you guys talking about? Can't say there's a future, makes no sense. And, that costs money to do those lawsuits. And so I tip my hat to that team. But it's the first time the US government said, crypto's good. We got your blessing. That's my Pope thing. That was really important. 2 years post that ETF launch, the US is going to be all in on Bitcoin, all in on crypto. We'll have good regulation. We'll have rules. I remember I was talking to a TradFi guy who had a major job, and he went to a big crypto company, and he called me after about 3 months. He said, dude, I'm seeing these people I used to talk to all the time, and I show up and they look at me like I'm a criminal. And, he ran a big business. And I was like, yeah, welcome to our world, right? Like, we were treated like pariahs in lots of ways. I mean, maybe me a little less because I'm such a loudmouth. But all of a sudden, the time is, the government has said, no, this is a good industry. And I think there's going to be an unbelievable unleashing of energy the moment this stuff gets codified. The moment we pass a law, the moment you say you see Gary Gensler not at the SEC, the moment frivolous lawsuits aren't being, and listen, I'm not saying crypto wasn't guilty of a lot of shit. It still is guilty of a lot of shit. I literally have up to 10 to 15 imposters a week between Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, and all these things, people trying to scam and fish money from, that never happened to me as a macro guy, 0.0 times. And so, the crypto world has been full of, shady deals. I looked at one tweet I had from a few years back that was like, oh my goodness, Do Kwon and Sam Bankman-Fried are becoming the next CZs. Like unbelievably innovative, unbelievably charismatic, all three of the guys go to jail. We deserve some of the spanking we got as an industry. But what feels good is that most of that's behind us, and we're getting a clean bill of health from the government soon. And I think, the next 5 years are going to be a lot more fun than the last 5. I think what's needed in crypto is going to change. When you said, how you doing? I said, well, I'm a storyteller. And I think storytelling will still be important, but plumbing is going to be just as important. Literally. And being an entrepreneur is going to be just important. Literally being strategic. How do you take on Ticketmaster as a community? What does it take to jumpstart a blockchain-based ticketing company? Or we'll never have one, right? The same thing that Travis Kalachnik had to do when he took on the taxi cab drivers. I remember I sat with him about a year ago for a couple hours, and I was like, oh, now I know why the decentralized Uber didn't work, and he built Uber. The guy's a complete and total renegade badass. And he didn't mind being sued. He paid fines. He paid for demand. He paid for supply. He was an amazing salesman to bring in capital. And it took a tremendous amount of will, rule breaking, and toughness to jumpstart that company, which is now, one of the best companies in the world. Quite frankly, the interesting is it's probably now easier to disrupt it that it's built than it was before. But that's really the next chapter of this. It's going to be entrepreneurs and plumbers, and less storytellers, I think.
In the wake of President Trump's endorsement of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, and the many promises he made to crypto supporters at the Bitcoin 2024 conference, Novogratz has urged cryptocurrency investors not to be completely taken in by his words. In his words, crypto needs both sides to reach its full potential in the United States. In a recent tweet reacting to some of the things Trump said at the conference, Novogratz wrote, "The hypocrisy of politicians knows no bounds. Trump went from disliking Bitcoin during his presidency to now giving it an amazing endorsement, trying to win over the single-issue voters. If Harris, who has had no control over policy from her seat, does the same, it's pandering. We want both parties on our side." In a follow-up tweet, he added, "This was a spectacular endorsement for our industry, and it is forcing the Democrats to get on board. We want both parties supporting us." Trump's glowing remarks about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies have been making headlines since he delivered a speech before thousands of crypto investors in Nashville on Saturday. During his powerful speech, Trump said that if he wins the elections in November, he will ensure that the federal government never sells off its Bitcoin holdings, describing holding on to your cryptocurrencies as a cardinal rule for all crypto investors. This afternoon, I'm laying out my plan to ensure that the United States will be the crypto capital of the planet and the Bitcoin superpower of the world, and we'll get it done, Trump said. The Biden-Harris administration's repression of crypto and Bitcoin is wrong, and it's very bad for our country. Let me tell you, if they win this election, every one of you will be gone. They will be vicious. They will be ruthless. They will do things that you wouldn't believe. The former president also promised to fire SEC Chair Gary Gensler and dismantle what he called the anti-crypto crusade of President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. What are your thoughts on Trump's promises to crypto investors? Do you think he's just pandering to win the election? Or does he really mean everything he said? Please share your thoughts and comments in the comments section below. Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notifications bell for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.